How to start camping? This is the age-old question that can be terrifying and exciting all at the same time. Camping can be one of the best decisions you take for your family. It can also be a really expensive, frustrating mistake that ends up with a wet sleeping bag or a blown out tire on an overloaded trailer or a teenager who never wants to camp again. Who should not camp is just as important as who should. Most people find out after they have already committed thousands of dollars. I've made some of these mistakes, and in this video, I'm going to make sure that you don't repeat them. We're going to cover everything: the finances, the buying process, the logistics that nobody explains, how to actually book a campsite, how to feed your family once you're out there, safety, your first camping trip's blueprint, and lots of tips and tricks to help you save money and still enjoy camping to the fullest. This is the most complete beginner's camping guide that I could make. Welcome back to Chai in Camper. Before we talk about a single piece of gear, before we talk about money, before we talk about campgrounds, I need you to sit with one question. Why do you actually want to camp? Because your answer to that question changes everything that comes after it. Are you doing this because it looked peaceful on Instagram? Because you saw a family laughing around a campfire and felt something pull at you? Because you're burned out and you need something that slows your life down? All of those are real reasons. I had all three of them at different points in my life. For me, there was a period in my career where I was traveling constantly for work. I am a vice president of software engineering. Complex decisions, high stakes, fast pace. I was doing amazing at my career, still am, but what I was also doing without realizing was missing more important things. School events, birthdays, small Saturday mornings that don't look important on a calendar but actually make the fabric of what your kids remember. Camping became my family's way of reclaiming intentional time together. But here's what I want you to hear before we get any further. Camping is controlled discomfort. I'm going to say that again because I want it to land. Camping is controlled discomfort. You're going to solve small problems constantly. You're going to have to deal with the weather that doesn't care about your plans. You're going to pack and unpack more times than you thought possible. Things are going to break, and the store will not be nearby. Now, here's the thing: for the right person, that's exactly the point. You want to solve small problems with your hands. You want your kids to see you figure it out. That's the appeal. But if controlled discomfort sounds exhausting rather than exciting, that's important information. It's better to know that now before you have committed thousands of dollars. In my experience, people who want to start camping fall into three categories. The romanticizer. You've seen the photos, the glowing fire, the s'mores, the perfect family moment. You want that feeling. This person needs to understand that camping is mostly about setup, logistics, and problem solving, with beautiful moments woven in between. The magic is real, but it doesn't show up without work. Number two is the family bonder. You want your kids off the screens. You want shared experiences. You want to create memories that last. This is probably the strongest motivation of all, and camping genuinely delivers here if you go in with the right expectations. Believe it or not, even the problems become stories your kids tell later. Number three is the adventure seeker. You want to explore. You want to see places that aren't accessible from a hotel. You want to go somewhere and feel like you've earned it. This person tends to get hooked for life, but often underestimates the logistics required to get there. Take a second, figure out which one you are, because that determines which path you're going to take in the next section. There are four main entry points into camping. Each one has its trade-offs, and I want to give you an honest look at all four, including what I chose and why. Tent camping. This is where we first started in 2018. It's the lowest barrier to entry and where most people should start. $500 to $1,000 get you everything you need: a quality tent, a sleeping pad or an air mattress, a sleeping bag rated for the temperature you're expecting, and a few basics. The gear is simple. The setup is manageable. You can throw it in the back of a sedan and go. But I want to be honest about the cons. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. You're completely weather dependent. If it rains sideways at 2 a.m., you're the solution to that problem. There is no close the door and problem solved solution here. Setup takes time, especially with the kids, and there is real physical effort involved. Here's what I'd say to first timers considering tent camping. It is the absolute best way to find out if you actually like camping. Spend $500 to $1,000 instead of $50,000 to discover that you love it or you don't. Either outcome is worth that investment. A pro tip here, and one thing that beginners always get wrong. A tent labeled 4-person fits 2 adults with gear comfortably. For a family of 4, look at 6 or 8-person tents minimum. This is not marketing deception exactly. It's just a sleeping capacity rating without the gear included. For this one, buy bigger than what you need. The sleeping rule. I cannot stress this enough. The quality of your sleep will determine if you come back for a second trip. Your body loses more heat from below than it does from above. A good sleeping pad or an air mattress, not just a thin foam pad, is the single most important piece of comfort gear that you can buy. More important than the tent itself. Temperature ratings are for survival, not comfort. A sleeping bag rated for 50 degrees will technically keep you alive at 50 degrees. It will not keep you comfortable. Buy a bag rated 15 to 20 degrees lower than the coldest temperature you're expecting to encounter. Path 2 is travel trailers or campers. This is where my family and I ended up, as in we do this now. A travel trailer is essentially a mobile home that you can tow behind a truck or an SUV. You have your own kitchen, your own bathroom, your own bed, your own climate control. An experience that is repeatable, meaning every single trip, you know exactly what you're getting into. You're not reinventing the wheel every time. For our family, our camper changed everything. We have a predictable setup. My wife knows exactly where everything is. The kids know the routine. It has become a system. But here's the full truth. You need a capable tow vehicle, not just any truck. A truck that is capable of carrying you, your family, and your gear, along with towing the trailers safely. I have an entire video dedicated to towing math. I will link it into the description. Please watch it before you buy. Mind you, this is not a place to guess. There are 3 types of towables. Option number 1 is a camper or a pop-up. It's the lightest, smallest, lowest entry cost. You can tow it with almost any mid-sized truck or a large SUV. The trade-off? Minimum installation and very limited living space. This is your starter configuration. Option number 2 is a travel trailer. This is the most common choice for families, and it is what we run. This is the sweet spot or the middle ground, if you will. The complexity is getting the towing math correct. Option number 3 is a fifth wheeler, largest of all towable systems. It mounts into the bed of a pickup truck using a specialized hitch. You get the most living space of any towable configuration, but you need a bigger truck to pull these. And of course, your acquisition cost increases significantly. The entry cost for this option is $25,000 to $50,000. Storage can cost money. Whether you park it in your driveway, a storage facility, or behind your house, there can be a cost associated with it, even if you're not using it. Budget for it. Maintenance is real. Tire replacement, appliance servicing, slide-out management. Path 3, motorhome. Motorhomes are the easiest setup. You drive, you park, you're largely done. There is no hitch, no sway control, no tow vehicle complexity. But here's the number that changes people's mind on this option. You can expect to pay anywhere from $45,000 to $150,000 or more, even used. And here's what people forget. You're not just maintaining a house. You're maintaining a house and an engine. That's 2 separate systems. When the engine needs a rebuild and the slide-out seal fails in the same month, and that can happen, you're looking at a repair bill that will make any CFO cry. Types of motorhomes. You again have three options for the motorized RVs. Option number one is Class B, the camper van. Most maneuverable, easiest to park, lowest fuel cost of the three. The trade off is living space. You are optimizing for mobility. Option number two is the Class C. You will recognize it by the bunk over the cab, the sleeping area that extends over the cab of the truck. Mid-size footprint, more livable space than a Class B, and typically easier to drive than a Class A. This is a popular first-time motorhome choice. Option number three is a Class A, the largest configuration available. These are the full-size coaches you see on the highway. Think bus profile. Maximum living space, maximum cost, maximum technical complexity. Diesel or gas engines. This is usually not a starter configuration. Motorhomes make sense for people who are committed to frequent long distance travel. If you're going to spend 90 plus days a year on the road, the convenience math starts to work. But if you're going 8 to 10 times a year, a travel trailer is probably the better financial decision. Path 4 is cabin camping or renting. This is genuinely the most underrated path, and most beginners skip it and regret it later. Renting a cabin at a state park, you can get the outdoor experience, the campfire, and the nature without sleeping on the ground. You're testing the lifestyle without the gear. The other option is for you to rent a camper or a motorhome. That would cost anywhere from $100 to $400 depending on the size and location. You get the full experience in someone else's equipment. Believe it or not, this is the most risk-managed path into camping. You spend a weekend finding out if you love it before you commit serious money. Alright, I said I'll give you an honest recommendation. Here it is. If you have never camped before, start with tent camping, a cabin or a rental. One weekend, spend the minimum, find out if your family actually enjoys sleeping somewhere that isn't your house. The answer is worth more than any gear review. If you already know you love it, you want that repeatable family experience, a travel trailer is worth serious consideration. But rent one first. One weekend on someone else's ring teaches you more than 6 months of YouTube videos, including this one. And here are your 3 rules. Good things come in threes. Test it first. Rent before you buy. And never shop emotionally. Here's a snapshot of what we just talked about. Tent camping, the costs involved upfront and ongoing. Travel trailers, upfront and ongoing. Motorhome, upfront and ongoing. I would recommend you screenshot this so there is no confusion when you later get to planning. This is the section that separates people who think they're ready from people who actually are. This is where expectations break. In a past life, my CEO used to say, his best ideas go to die in the CFO's office. For the next several minutes, I am your CFO. When we bought our camper, even with all the spreadsheets and all the math, I spent over $4,000 more than I had estimated. Definitely a few things I will never buy again. I will link the video in the description below where I explain what those things are. Let's start with tent camping. The $500 to $1,000 range that I had mentioned earlier is real if you shop smartly. Here's how I'd actually allocate it. 60% of your budget goes to the big 3: your tent, your sleeping pad or air mattress, and your sleeping bag. These 3 things determine whether camping is comfortable or miserable. Don't go cheap here. The remaining 40% covers everything else: a camping stove, fuel canisters, a cooler, a first aid kit, headlamps, a folding table, and camping chair. Most of these things you may already own versions of at home. The shop your house rule before you buy anything. Walk through your house first. Most families already have a cooler, a pot or 2, plates, blankets, and pillows. You don't need camping versions of everything on your first trip. Bring what you have. Buy what you actually need after you have discovered what's missing. For travel trailers or camper buyers, here's the number that surprises people. The trailer itself only is the beginning. By the time you finish outfitting it, most buyers have spent $3,000 to $8,000 beyond the purchase price of the trailer. My number beyond the camper was $6,795. This is not the reason not to buy. It's a reason to plan for it. Here are the costs that never stop, and for first-time buyers, they fail to absorb it fully. Even if you don't camp, you're paying for something. For example, storage. If your neighborhood or HOA doesn't allow camper storage, and many don't, you're looking at anything from $50 to $250 per month for a storage facility. That's $600 to $3,000 a month just to park it somewhere. RV insurance is not the same as auto insurance. Expect $300 to $2,000 depending on the value of your unit and your coverage level. Read the fine print. Make sure you understand what's covered. You don't want to find that out halfway across the country in the middle of nowhere with darkness setting in. The annual maintenance is real. Plan for it. Roof seal inspection and resealing, tire replacement every 5 to 7 years, appliance servicing, wheel bearing repacking every year. Budget 2 to 3% of your trailer's value per year. On a $25,000 trailer, that's $500 to $750 a year. You may not use it all, but it's better to have it and not need it. There is a wide range of campground fees. State parks are the best value in camping, typically $20 to $50 per night. Clean, well-maintained, usually in beautiful locations. But they may not always come with full hookups. That's a term I can explain later. Private parks, KOAs, private campgrounds range from $50 to $150 per night. The amenities are often better. Pools, dog parks, organized activities, and the price reflects that. There are also membership organizations worth understanding. Companies like Good Sam provide an annual membership that gives you 10% off on participating campgrounds. If you are paying $100 per night regularly, the math works out really well here. That's a $39 per year membership. Travel Resorts of America and Thousand Trails, these are different membership options that are available. It works really well if you plan frequently and you plan ahead. It can be a trap if you're overestimating your usage, because this is a real money commitment. I plan to make a detailed video for this, as a number of people have asked me recently. My recommendation for this section: don't join any membership program until you have camped at least 5 times. Know your actual habits before you commit to a contract. Fuel can be a silent budget killer. I want to give you the real number. My Ford F-150 gives 20 miles per gallon on a normal day. When I'm towing my camper, that drops to approximately 10 miles per gallon, half. Add the fuel cost to the campground fees and your food budget, and a weekend that only costs $50 for the side can easily be $300 to $400 all in. Plan for it. It's not a reason not to go, it's a reason to have an accurate budget. I get this question a lot. Isn't camping way cheaper than flying or hotel vacations? Let me do the math honestly for you. A family of 4 flying to a destination, hotel for 5 nights, food, activities, you're probably looking at $3,000 to $6,000. A family of 4 camping for 5 nights in a camper, the campground fees, fuel, food, you're looking at about $1,000, but that's once you own the equipment. On a per trip basis, camping is definitely cheaper than flying and hotels. But here's the comparison that people leave out: the cost of the setup. You're amortizing $25,000 to $50,000 in upfront investment over the years that you use it. If you camp 5 to 10 times per year for 10 years, the math works beautifully. If you camp 5 times and then sell it, you probably didn't save anything. The real return on camping isn't purely financial. It's flexibility. It's the kind of memories you can't manufacture otherwise. Go in with your eyes open on the money. Don't romanticize the budget. If you've decided to buy an RV or a camper, I need you to slow down for a minute. Dealerships are experts at creating excitement. That smell of the new trailer, the gleaming appliances, the salesperson who says this one won't last the weekend, it's engineered to make you act emotionally. Don't shop emotionally. I cannot say this enough. New RVs depreciate fast, faster than your cars. Drive it off the lot and you have immediately lost 20 to 30% of its value. For a $40,000 trailer, that's 8 to 12,000 gone before you even use it. The used ones, on the other hand, require a lot more due diligence, but the savings are real. When you buy used, these are the things you're inspecting with absolute rigor. Water damage. This is the number one hidden problem of used trailers. Check every corner, every ceiling, under every slide out. Check every window. Water damage that goes unnoticed turns into mold, rot, and a repair bill that can exceed the value of the trailer. Bring a moisturizer meter if you have to. They are $20 on Amazon. Tire condition and age is another important one. RV tires don't wear out, they dry rot. A tire can look fine visually, but is a blowout waiting to happen. Look for the manufacturer date on the sidewall. It's a 4-digit code. First two digits are the week, the last two digits are the year. Anything over 7 years old should be replaced immediately, regardless of how it looks. Appliance function. Run every appliance. Stovetop, oven, microwave, refrigerator in both electric and propane mode, air conditioning, furnace. If anything doesn't work during the walkthrough, factor that repair cost into your offer. Slide out condition. Extend and retract every slide out. Listen for grinding. Look at the seal. A failing slide out mechanism is a costly repair. 3 numbers you must know before you buy. This is part of the buying process most people skip, and it's the most important. Towing capacity. What your specific vehicle configuration can pull. Not the number on the door sticker, the actual calculated number accounting for passengers, gear, fuel, the tongue weight. If you have seen my towing capacity video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I will put it in the description below. Payload capacity, what your truck can actually carry. Passengers, gear, the tongue weight. This number is often the binding constraint that people ignore. Your truck may be able to pull 12,000 pounds, but may only be able to carry 1,400 pounds. GVWR, or the gross vehicle weight rating. The maximum your truck or your trailer can weigh when fully loaded with everything inside. That's your family in that truck. This is not a place to cut corners. Run the math before you buy, not after. 3 things you need to know about dealer negotiations. Yes, good things come in threes. Number 1, the MSRP is negotiable. Always. Start with 20 to 25% below sticker price and work your way from there. Number 2, the finance office is where they recover the margin. Extended warranties, paint protection plans, tire protection plans, most of these are negotiable or unnecessary. Know what you're signing before you sign it. 3, do a pre-delivery inspection and take your time with it. It is your legal right. Walk through every system. Test everything. Find the problems before you drive away, because fixing them becomes exceptionally harder after delivery. You've bought the gear, you've made the reservation, you're at the campground. Now what? This chapter should exist in every beginner guide and is almost never addressed. The driveway test. Before your first real trip, spend a night in your own driveway. Set everything up, run all the systems, sleep in it if you have to. For tent campers, set it up in your backyard. Practice the whole sequence. Find out the rain fly doesn't connect the way the instructions show it does. Find out your air mattress pump takes 20 minutes to fill the mattress. Find these problems at home, not at the campsite 3 hours away in the dark while your kids are exhausted and hungry. I don't care how experienced you think you are. The driveway test is non-negotiable for the first trip. When you arrive at your campsite in the travel trailer, there's a sequence that makes this go smoothly. Deviate from it and things get complicated fast. I always recommend campers use a standardized list and then customize it for your own setup. I will link mine in the description to get you started. Most importantly, always follow that checklist, no matter how experienced you are. 3 mistakes I see most often. Mistake number 1, sliding out the slide out before you level it. Slide outs on an unlevel trailer create uneven stress on the mechanism. Level first, then extend. Leaving awnings extended when you leave the campground or when the weather turns. Wind comes up fast. An improperly secured awning can be destroyed in minutes. If you're leaving the site, retract the awning. Using the wrong sewer connection sequence. You want to empty the black tank first, then open the gray tank to flush the hose. Gray water is relatively clean. It's your final rinse. Electric systems. 30 amps versus 50 amps. This is a question I get constantly. Most travel trailers are 30 amps. Most large fifth wheelers or motorhomes are 50 amps. 30 amp service gives you 3600 watts of usable power. 50 amps gives you 12,000 watts. The difference in what you can run simultaneously is enormous. On a 30 amps, running the air conditioner, microwave, and a space heater simultaneously will trip your breaker. Know what you can run. Your air conditioner is typically your biggest draw, 1400 to 1500 watts. Everything else stacks up on top of that. Know your appliance's wattage. Post a small list in a cabinet door if you need to. Surge protectors are not optional. A bad power pedestal, and they exist, can send a voltage spike through your entire electric system. A $150 surge protector is cheap insurance for a $30,000 camper. Generator rules vary by campground. Most developed campgrounds have generator quiet hours, typically 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Some prohibit them entirely. Know the rules before you assume you can run the generator till 11 p.m. In this day and age, cutting out screen time entirely is not practical, and most camping guides ignore this entirely. Whether you work remotely, need navigation data, or just want to keep teenagers from mutiny, internet connectivity while camping is a solved problem in this day and age, but it requires a plan. Cellular is the most flexible option. A hotspot device or phone hotspot on a solid carrier works at most developed campgrounds. Verizon and TNT are really good options here. For serious and predictable connectivity, especially in rural or remote locations, Starlink is the game changer. I have a dedicated video on this. The investment is real, but for full-time RVers or frequent travelers, it pays back quickly. It always pays to plan ahead. If you're going to be using the cell phone for hotspot, ensure that you look at the cell coverage map for your carrier for that specific location. Don't assume you'll have a signal. Perhaps a little less important, but for Starlink, make sure that you know that your site will not have a tree coverage. Starlink does not work unless it has a clear view of the sky. Water and waste system. You have 3 tanks. Let's demythify them. The freshwater tank is where your drinking and showering water supply comes from. Standard capacity is 40 to 60 gallons. For most places you'll go to, unless you're completely off the grid, you will have a water hookup. That means you can use their water instead of using your freshwater tank. The gray water tank holds everything that goes through your sink and your shower drain. It fills up faster than you think. Typical capacity is 30 to 50 gallons. The black water tank holds everything that goes through your toilet. The typical capacity is 30 to 40 gallons. Dumping is not glamorous, but it is part of the RV experience. After the first time, it's just another system task. Gloves, systematic sequence, and a rinse cycle. Done in 10 minutes. Now let's talk about the weather. This one rule, plan around the weather, not through it, will save you more frustration than any other piece of advice in this video. Wind destroys awnings. One unexpected gust of over 30 miles per hour can destroy a fully extended awning. Awnings are $500 to $2,000 to replace. If wind is in the forecast, retract that awning. Every time. Rain pools on top of the awnings if they are not tilted. Heat makes sleeping miserable without shore power for air conditioning. If you're camping somewhere hot, make sure that you'll have an electric hookup. Boondocking, which is essentially camping off the grid in 95-degree heat without air conditioning, is survivable, not pleasant. Cold weather adds complexity. Winterizing is a full process. Storage. The problem that nobody considers until it's too late. Where does your camper live when you're not using it? HOA restrictions in many neighborhoods prohibit visible RV storage. Check your HOA rules before you buy. Some people buy a trailer and then discover their neighborhood won't allow it. The options you have here are storing it in your own driveway, the side yard, a storage facility, or a covered facility. Storage facilities cost range from $50 to $150 per month depending on location and whether it's covered or enclosed. That's a real line item in your budget. This is the section that gets surprisingly little attention in camping guides, and it's one of the things that determines whether a camping trip feels like an adventure or a punishment. Let me tell you something about food and camping. The best meal I've ever had was chai made on a camp stove watching the sun come up over the tree line, with no other sound except the birds. The chai was exactly the same way as the one I make at home. The context made it very different. Food outside tastes better. This is not a theory, there's actual research on it. Physical activity, fresh air, and the effort of making something from scratch all amplify the sensory experience of eating. Use this to your advantage. Here's how I approach meal planning for a camping trip. Pre-make what you can. Marinated meats, cut vegetables, pre-mix spices. Prepare at home. The less knife work you do at the campsite, the more time you spend enjoying it. Here's how my wife prepares our meals. The 3-tier system. Foil packet meals, simple, interactive, kids love it. Camp stove meals, eggs, pancakes, stir fry, pasta, rice dishes, your workhorse tier. Trailer kitchen meals, anything you'd make at home. Baked dishes, slow cooker meals, yes, you can use a slow cooker on shore power. Full family dinners. Food storage, cooler discipline matters. Keep raw meats at the bottom in sealed bags. Don't open the cooler door more than is absolutely necessary. Each opening costs you ice life. For campgrounds in bear country, food goes in a bear box or your locked vehicle when you're not at the site, not inside the tent, not on the table. This is one of the most common pain points for beginners, based on real questions I see constantly. People don't know how to find a campsite, how to book one, and what they are even looking for. Let me break this down into a system. Types of campgrounds. State parks. These are managed by state park systems. Generally are the best value. $20 to $50 per night. Beautiful locations, well-managed facilities, often right on lakes or rivers. Book early. Popular state park sites book out 6 months in advance in peak season. National parks and national forests. These are federal lands. Reservation.gov is the booking platform. National park campgrounds are some of the most competitive reservations in the country. Yellowstone, Yosemite, Glacier. If you want peak season dates, you're setting an alarm for booking window release dates. Private campgrounds. These have higher prices but also have more amenities, pools, playgrounds, organized activities. Great for families with young kids who want more infrastructure. Not always great for people who want to be super close to nature. Boondocking or dispersed camping. This can either be free or cost very little. You can camp on public lands, BLM lands, no hookup, no facilities, no reservations. This is where some experienced campers go for solitude and adventure, not where beginners should start. How to actually book. For state parks, each state has its own system. Most use Reserve America or a state-specific portal. Google your state park camping reservation and you'll find it. For federal land, recreation.gov covers national parks, national forests, and other federal campgrounds. For private campgrounds, they have their own sites, or you can use something like CampSpot for online reservation. Now, what to look for in a site listing? When you're browsing sites, here's what actually matters. Full hookup. It means you'll have water, electric, and sewer on your site. Partial usually means water and electric only. You dump at a dump station. Electric only means no water. Dry camping or primitive means nothing. You're on your own. Amp service. If you have a 50 amp trailer, make sure the site offers 50 amp service. Site length. This is especially important for longer rigs. Most listings include the site length. Know your rig's total length. Pull through versus back in. Pull through sites are easier for beginners. You drive in one end and out the other. no backing required. Back in sight requires you to back into position. This is a skill worth practicing in an empty parking lot before your first trip. Cell signal. Always check self-service before you book. If a work call might happen, or if I am relying on streaming for the kids, I need to know the cell signal strength upfront, or if there will be tree coverage on the site that I am at. Booking strategy for peak season. Popular campgrounds during summer weekends book out months in advance. Here's the strategy. Book early. Set calendar reminders for booking windows. State parks typically open 6 months out. Federal land 6 months out. Private campgrounds vary. Be flexible on dates. Midweek trips are significantly easier to book and often cheaper. Have a backup site. Know your second and third choice before you arrive anywhere. Weather changes. Mechanical problems happen. A backup plan turns a potential disaster into a minor inconvenience. Here's what nobody tells you when you're planning your first camping trip as a family. Camping is not just a weekend you're at a campsite. It's the Sunday night you spend packing. It's the Thursday before you leave spent loading supplies. It's the Monday after you come home spent cleaning and unpacking. The Tuesday you spend doing maintenance. Camping is a lifestyle, not an event. And if you don't distribute the operational workload across your family, one person carries all the weight, burnout can happen fast. Make it a family system. From our first year of camping, we divided responsibilities. My wife handles the interior, kitchen supply, bedding, food planning. The kids have assigned tasks. Help level the trailer, get the stabilizers, put the chocks. I handle all the mechanical stuff and the driving. This is not just about efficiency, it's about ownership. When your kids have a job that the trip depends on, they are invested in the trip's success. That changes the dynamic completely. Let me be real about the teenagers. Teenagers don't want staged campground photos. My wife and I have tried to do those a lot. What we got was polite tolerance at best and eye rolls at worst. What teenagers actually want is their space, the bikes, some independence, and feel like their preference matters. Give them agency. Let them pick one activity per trip, one meal per trip, one campground per season. Ownership builds engagement, and when it's their choice, they're invested. Don't confiscate devices. Let them have their phones. The goal is shared experience, not forced disconnection. A teenager that is allowed their phone will often put it down voluntarily if there is something interesting happening. Find out what they actually enjoy. Biking, kayaking, fishing, photography. Some teenagers become genuinely passionate about one outdoor activity, but you have to try a few things before you find that. Let the campfire do the work. Something happens around the campfire that doesn't happen anywhere else. Conversations come out, stories surface. It's slower, quieter than everything else in our lives, and eventually, even teenagers find their way to it. Managing expectations for adults is extremely important as well. I have seen couples go into camping trips with fundamentally different versions of what they want to do. One person pictures adventures and exploration, the other pictures relaxation and stillness. Talk about expectations before you go, not during setup, not after the long drive, before. Define what success looks like for you. For us, success looks like a Sunday morning where nobody wants to come back home. That's it. That's the bar. Now let's talk about safety. I want to be very clear. Camping is not dangerous, but it requires preparation and respect for things that can go wrong. Use the checklist every single time. I don't care how many times I've done this. I run the same checklist before every trip. Tire pressures checked both on the truck and the trailer. Look at the sidewall for cracking while you're there. Hitch connection, safety chains, electrical connected and tested. Brake lights, turn signals, running lights. Confirm the trailer brakes engage. Do a low-speed trailer brake check in your neighborhood or the storage facility before you hit the highway. Walk around the rig, look at everything. Jack up, nothing below the trailer, everything retracted, weight distribution and sway control, everything is set correctly. Make sure you've checked everything in your driveway or at the storage facility, not at a parking lot 50 miles down the road. Know where your fire extinguisher is. Make sure it's ready when you need it. In our trailer, it lives at the same spot for every trip. The kids know exactly where it is. Carbon monoxide is odorless and can be fatal. RVs have propane appliances and enclosed spaces. A CO detector inside your trailer is non-negotiable. Check the batteries before every trip. Campfire safety is critical. Fully extinguish before you sleep or leave your camp. Drown it, stir it, drown it again. That's the standard. If you can touch the ashes with your bare hands, it's out. Before that, it's not. Research the wildlife where you're going before you go. Bear country has specific food storage rules. Follow them. Rattlesnake territory means watching where you step. Most wildlife encounters are managed with common sense and proper food storage. Road safety. When you tow, slow down. Seriously, your reaction time with the trailer behind you is completely different from driving without it. Speed limit signs exist for solo cars. When you're towing, back off by 5 to 10 miles per hour on curves and grades. Brake early. The trailer pushes you. You need significantly more stopping distance than the solo vehicle. Watch for sway. If your trailer starts swaying, do not brake hard. Gently reduce speed. Hold the wheel steady. If you feel out of control, activate the trailer brake controller manually to bring the trailer back into line. Know your height. Know your trailer's total height. Gas station overhangs, low bridges, parking structures, they exist. This is a mistake you will only make once. Everything I've covered so far leads here. This is the actual playbook for your first trip. 6 rules for a successful first trip. Rule number 1. Stay within 2 hours of your home. If something goes wrong, and something could, you can drive back. Don't make your first trip a 6-hour commitment in either direction. Rule number 2. Book a full hookup at a developed campground. No dry camping, no dispersed camping, no primitive sites. Your first trip is about learning the system. Rule number 3. Arrive at least 2 hours before sunset. You need daylight to find your site, level the trailer, run the hookups, and figure out where everything is. Arriving in the dark on your first experience will make for a genuinely miserable experience. Rule number 4. Do the driveway test first. One night in your own driveway. Set up everything. Sleep in it if you have to. Run the system. Find the problems at your home. Rule number 5. Underschedule the activities. Do not plan 10 activities. Plan 3. Your first trip is about the experience of being there, not a checklist of things you have to accomplish. Build a campfire. Sit outside. Watch what the kids do when there's no schedule. Let it be slow. Rule number 6. Do a debrief on your way home. Ask every family member, what worked? What would you change? What do you want for the next trip? This debrief is worth more than any video or guide. It's your family-specific data. The first trip packing list. I'll put a full downloadable checklist in the description. I want to end with something most people won't say. Camping is not for everyone, and that's completely fine. If unpredictability genuinely frustrates you rather than challenge you, camping will be a source of constant stress for you, not joy. If your threshold for discomfort is very low and you genuinely don't want to extend it, that's valid. Not every experience needs to be for every person. Here's what I genuinely believe after having done this for years. Camping is not about the camper. It's not about the gear or the campground. It's not about that perfect Instagram moment. It's about creating intentional space in your life that otherwise fills itself automatically. It's about problems that are small enough to solve with your hands and big enough to make you feel something. It takes effort. It costs money. It requires patience. Things will go wrong. And those things that go wrong will become stories that you and your kids will tell for years. The chai that we made and spilled on the stove in a rainstorm, that's a story. A perfect trip with no problems is a nice night. A trip with one real problem that you solved together is a memory. If you're considering getting into camping, I hope this video gave you clarity, not just excitement. Both matter, but clarity lasts longer. If this video was helpful, hit the subscribe button. I do this every week with the same kind of honesty. Until next time, this is Chai and Camper. We'll see you at the campsite.